Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the pre-match build-up. We are at the seaside this afternoon. Will there be a slip-up or will we be swimming in glory? Luke Shaw starts for United for the first time since February 18th of last year. I will repeat that for people who are absolutely astonished by that news. Luke Shaw starts for Manchester United for the first time since February the 18th. Which I believe was either a Luton game or Aston Villa or West Ham. One of those teams, I feel like it was. And it was a whole kind of thing, wasn't there, with Ten Hag and the staff and Luke Shaw going back and forth, saying that he got rushed back and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, he does start today. Hopefully he stays on the pitch and completes a full 90 minutes, because that would be absolutely incredible. But as for the rest of the team, Shreyas, we have Andre Onana in net. Lenny Yoro, Maguire, and Luke Shaw, I'm guessing, is your back three, your three centre-backs. Mazraoui, Manu, Casemiro, and Dorgu as your four. And then Bruno Fernandes, Højlund, and Garnacho. So let's just start with the back line first. Do you agree? Do you think it'll be Shaw at left-sided centre-half?
I had a feeling that he might start. I wasn't quite sure about it because I think Amorim has been quite cautious when it comes to Luke Shaw as well as Mason Mount. So I thought, if he gets the last 20 minutes or 25 minutes, maybe that's the play until our game against Bilbao. But good to see him getting, his first start, because I think against a team like Bilbao, he needs to be match sharp and he needs to be at it. And by the looks of it, he might be the one who will be getting the nod to actually starting that game against the likes of Iñaki Williams or maybe Berenguer playing on that side. So with the kind of options,
do you think he'll go with Shaw in the Bilbao game? Yeah,
he might, because the thing is, in that game you need experience, and on top of that you also need someone who's physically capable and at the same time also has the recovery pace to actually match up with the kind of pace Bilbao actually bring into that game. And with Lisandro being out and with the options that are at our disposal at the moment, I wanted Mazraoui to actually get rested, because I would have personally gone with Maz on one side, Shaw on one side, because both of them very experienced, both of them do quite well in that department. So you need both of them to be quite sharp, and you need both of them well rested. So Luke Shaw, I thought, especially against the type of attack that Bournemouth actually bring to the table, Luke Shaw against Bournemouth starting makes a lot of sense, because get those minutes in, get him match sharp, get him used to the agility as well of the type of pacey as well as physical wingers that Bournemouth has, and I would say to a better extent even Bilbao would present. Apart from that, Maguire had to start as well. I think he has been solid the past few games and got a good rest, I think, in the last one. So good to see Maguire back. Yoro has been very, very solid in ever since his injury, that he's come back. He's looked very, very good, very, very reliable as well. And even when it comes to driving the ball forward from that back line, he's been very, very aggressive and he's been very, very sharp. So I think I'm quite happy with the back line. And Onana and Bayender, one of the same kid.
Yeah, I get it. Rhythm is important in this as well. We'll dive into the rest of the team, but there's loads of you joining us in a minute, so please do smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are just joining, and let us know your thoughts on the team. Rayanator straight off the bat saying happy with the team, like the Newcastle game, not expecting too much, wish he would experiment with a false nine, and Shaw starting his first game in 14 months sums up the state of the club. Lineup is too strong for my liking in relation to our context at the minute. I expect plenty of subs in the second half. Well, on the subs bench, I'll just read that out for you before we read the rest of the comments. We've got Heaton, Amas, Evans, Fredrickson, Lindelof, Eriksson, Mount, Ugarte, and Chido on the bench. So, yeah, you'd expect a Mount, Ugarte, Chido, those kind of players to come on, I'd imagine. Maybe a couple of others as well. I think Fredrickson's a little bit unlucky, because I thought his performance against Wolves was really, really good. Why do you think he's taking him out?
I think the only reason is that I don't know if he's been registered for the Europa League squad when it comes to Fredrickson. So him not even being in and around the team, especially when you got a game of that magnitude coming up, you need your first choice players to be in the team. When you've got like a 2 or 3 day break just before the game. And right now, if I have to look into it, who will have a greater impact across across both legs? Will it be Shaw or will it be Fredrickson? The answer is outright Luke Shaw, because even though he's not reliable at all, even though he might get an injury, 2 or 3 games in the running, uh, he's still someone who I think, in the context of the Europa League, can make a big impact. So Fredrickson had a very good performance, I would say, in that last game. But you need to actually, prioritize that Bilbao game right now.
Experience. That's it's just
Yeah.
down to that, innit? Like, I think he's been in that many situations, Luke Shaw. And when he is fit and available, there's no doubt. I think the majority of the people in the chat would probably agree as well. He's one of our best defenders when available. It's just because he's never been available, we've never been able to use him. But if he can stay fit now for the semi-final and final, I mean, even you saw with England, like as soon as he was available, he was like, boom, straight back in the team because he's that good. And it also brings an element of strength as well. Like I look at a lot of Bournemouth players, like Evan Nilsson, like Semenyo, these powerful runners. I think Shaw's capable of dealing with them, and Lenny Yoro likewise on the opposite side as well because he's relatively quick. Rainy is saying he's still lit out for the season, worrying seeing him out for this long, and I'll be expecting Ahmad back for Bilbao the second leg. So both of them players that you just mentioned are back in training at the minute. None of them are fit enough to start, but next week you might start seeing 10-15 minutes from both of them. That's what Amarin said in the presser anyway. Like random guys just touched on there, so appreciate that. Charlie's saying we are not winning this game. Garnacho and Dorgo on the left side never works. Yeah, well, it might not be Garnacho on the left hand side. That might just be the graphic. Could be Bruno over there. We don't know yet, but I agree with the premise of Garnacho and Dorgu, and it never ever works, does it? I think we know that. UTFR saying Mount should be starting for me for Garnacho, Amas, for Mazraoui. He needs a rest. Ed Barrett saying Dorgu right wing back, Shaw left wing back, Mazraoui right centre back, Yoro left centre back. I didn't read it as that personally. Again, I kind of assumed. I don't know if you agree with that graphics on the screen, Shreyas. Do you think it'll be that? Do you think Mazraoui right wing back, Dorgu left wing back?
I think so too. The reason being, maximum, I think the change could be that, he shifts Dogo on the other hand, because Dogo has looked much more impactful when he's playing as a right wing back, if I have to compare it to, on the to his performances on the left flank. But I just don't think he'll even try to risk Luke Shaw as a wing back in this game or, any other game, at least till the finals, because
he'll pull his hamstring.
and his body cannot take that sort of strain, and I don't think that his legs actually have the capacity to make those bombing runs every single time throughout the full 90. And if you do play him in that position, all you're doing is risking an injury. So I don't think that he'll shift Luke Shaw as a wing back. I think Shaw can do a very good job as a wing back, but his body just cannot take that sort of strain anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Just sticking with the defence, just quickly on Maguire, his redemption arc is incredible, really, isn't it? Like, what a mad career he has had, to be in comfortably one of the most awkward, error-prone players under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for a long, long time, to this kind of seasoned centre-back who's scoring last-minute winners in Europe. It's quite nice to see it from the abuse that he's gone from to the praise that he's getting now. I'm just buzzing for him.
Yeah, and look, he's got like 4 goals already this season, and 2 or 3 of them have been last-minute winners. Yeah. So I think his resurgence has definitely been something that a lot of youngsters and even other players who are not really performing as well at their clubs can actually take inspiration from, because Harry Maguire was one of the players who was absolutely written off by a lot of Manchester United fans the moment, Varane and Lisandro had that first impeccable season together as a partnership, and a lot of us thought that Maguire is done. You could hear offers from West Ham coming in, very interested in Harry Maguire, and he was close to leaving the club as well. But again, he put his head down and actually did quite well in his second season under Ten Hag, with the sort of injuries we had. And apart from that as well, in this system, he's perhaps one of the best players that you could possibly have when you're trying to play that, pragmatic and conservative style of football, because he's tailor-made for that sort of game style. And if you're trying to play, once again, if you're trying to play high tempo, you're trying to play high line football with, that centerpiece in that back three actually stepping up into midfield and making those sort of blocks. Again, that is an area where he doesn't really excel that much in. That is an area where De Ligt is quite more natural. But I think in the kind of situation that we've been presented in, as a backup option, as someone to come on from the bench, as someone who's actually, risen up to the occasion when we've been in trouble this season, he has been a big leader in that backline as well as in the team. And in pressure situations, he's actually turned up more for us than, other attackers have actually pulled up for us this season. So I'm quite happy with the turnaround that he's had. And again, we've had so many players at this club who have fallen through the ranks, not been involved in the starting 11. They throw a tantrum, somehow manage to get their way out of the club, and again don't do that well in the club as well. But this guy, the type of abuse that he actually got in between that 20 to 21 and 21-22 season to come to this level again, you have to give credit to him.
I have a sneaky suspicion as well he's going to have a few more moments like he did with the Europa League. Those last minute or equalisers or clearances off the line or something along the lines of that. Because in fairness, when De Ligt was in the team, a lot of people were saying this is De Ligt's position now. But both of them have done really well, to be fair. Both of them have acted like leaders in that back line and kind of the centrepiece of it. And one thing I really like about Maguire, and De Ligt starting to do it as well, when in Amorim's system and teams play against us, it's so compact centrally. Because it's almost like we play with like a 4-2-2 because one of the centre backs steps out into midfield, one of the midfielders advance, and then one of the kind of wingers tucks in a little bit, so it looks like a 4-2-2. Then the wing backs bomb on, so they're the ones who have always got the space. So when you have a central centre back like Maguire or De Ligt, you see them balls out like those, like spraying it left, spraying it right, like just to kind of break that press and break that compactness as well. So that's something that he's really really good at, which I like from him. Steph saying hopefully escape today with a result and no more injuries. That is my message for today, genuinely. And I was going to say that at the end. No injuries, please.
Yeah.
That's the one thing we want to get from this game. If players start dropping like flies, there's going to be that kind of negative energy going into the game on Thursday, isn't there, Shreyas?
Yeah, it is. And look, we've had a tough time after that game when Xerxes actually, had that hamstring injury, because he was perhaps one of our only forwards who was actually able to link the attack up when we were moving the ball into the final third. So I'm genuinely quite scared for Mazraoui. I'm genuinely quite scared for the likes of even Garnacho as well as Bruno, because we've just seen Dallo, pick up an injury and actually being out of the season. So we genuinely cannot risk any other injuries. And the players that have just gone through, Mazraoui is a very key figure in our back line, whether it's as a wing back.
Bruno as well, everyone who's played like 4,500 minutes of football. If he goes down now.
Yeah, because look, if Bruno goes out, we've genuinely ran out of options for players who create or even can actually get a goal for us. To pull up with amount, I think he's on 32 or 33 goal contributions already this season. So that's a lot. If you take his goal contributions out of the team, we are left with like single digit numbers. So we honestly cannot risk any sort of injury or even a knock to Bruno right now, especially, with the kind of game we've got coming up next, in just a few days against Bilbao. We need to protect our players. So I hope, he takes Bruno off, he takes Mazraoui off as well in the second half itself, because both of these guys, they are going to be very important for us against Bilbao.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Whilst we're on the topic of wing backs as well, Patrick Dorgu's starting, we believe, as the left-sided wing back. But against Wolves, of course, he was on the right because Amas started. When he first initially started on the right, because Amorim got a lot of pelleters, didn't he, for putting him there. He was like, it's not a right wing back. Why are you putting him there? But against Wolves, I thought he was actually all right. Like, he put a couple of decent crosses in, which no one kind of attached himself to. How do you think he's settling at the minute? What assessment would you make of him? And the same question to everyone in the chat as well, by the way.
I think he's a decent option. Right now, again, he's not someone who lights the world up when he's on the ball, because he's still very, very young. But you can see, his physicality definitely fits into the system. The way he, his aggressive overlapping runs, which often get ignored in this team by Garnacho at times as well. He is definitely, developing more into that role. I think as an inverted wing back, he did an exceptional job against Wolves. And I think if we genuinely have someone who can take advantage of the low crosses or the type of balls he's pings into the box, his output would look a lot better. His creativity would look a lot better. I think if we actually had a competent striker up top against Wolves, the striker could have easily gotten a hat trick, because both him as well as Amas put a lot of balls into the box. Even Garnacho put a lot of balls into the box, but Højlund was just not there at the right time, or if he was at the right time, he was at second or 5 seconds too early. So he completely miscued the shot altogether. So I think Dorgu is a good signing, especially, for 20-25 million. I think he's someone who you can have in the team and actually, develop him, and 2 or 3 years more down the line, he'll look an even better player. But from what I'm seeing right now, the aggressiveness and the kind of thing that we've been crying out loud for a lot of times that we need wing backs who know when to bomb on the moment we actually recover possession. So he's someone who definitely fits into that sort of profile.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I like the look of him at the minute. I think obviously he's coming in January. I think a lot of people are forgetting that, aren't they? Like he's not like a summer signing. He's coming in January. He's probably had, I don't know, 20 games for United, if that, at the minute. So I'm being cautious with my assessment of it. I really liked him when he first came in. I have to admit, I was like, oh, okay. Then he had a little bit of a rocky path. There was a couple of games.
It had to happen. You know,
it was always going to happen.
To Brem,
young player in it. So, but in terms of speaking specifically about the profile, I'm a huge fan, and you can see why Amrin would want someone like that. I'm just looking at the midfield. I don't know why I put it on the graphic. I put what am I doing here? Sorry, I'll get rid of this. I put Manu in the midfield, and I have no idea why I've just done that. So let me just swap this over. There we go. Yeah, so I'm presuming it's going to be Bruno and Casemiro, and then Manu as in the front three.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't like Manu in midfield, does he? Like when he speaks about recovery runs and agility and those kind of things, he does seem to prefer Bruno Fernandes there. So one, would you agree with that assessment? And two, are you surprised Casemiro starting, given that huge fixture on Thursday?
Again, I think with Casemiro, it's a thing about sharpness. I think he'll get like 50, 55 minutes in, and probably we'll be seeing Ugarte or probably Eriksen in the team after that point. With Casemiro, his resurgence has been something as well. He's proved very, very vital for us in the past few games. Even in that Lyon game, he was very, very crucial for us in that attacking third. And apart from that, I think when it comes to Bruno, he's the only one who naturally can play as an hybrid 8 in that system, because again, he's got the legs to actually cover up in that position. He's got the sort of passing range to actually win the ball and actually create chances of the half turn.
You said that in a preview, didn't you? Was one of the things you said.
Yeah, and apart from that, you need someone who is a risk taker in that position. And I think when it comes to Manu in that hybrid 8 position, he definitely, again, he's a bright talent, but the area where he excels the most is actually driving the ball forward. He loves to be on the ball. He loves to dribble around. And again, he needs freedom. Whenever he's got space and whenever he's got like 2 or 3 players to take on, you can see the best out of Kobbie Mainoo in that department. When it comes to spraying the ball around, when it comes to actually, making those sort of through balls from 20, 30 yards out, that is not an area where he excels in. So if you put him further up into the pitch near the striker, his ability to play intricate passes is very, very, very good. Again, he's quite mature when it comes to, his handling and his body placement while taking shots inside the box. So you would want him closer to the goal. You would want him behind the striker. And I think in this way, you can actually make a position for him in this team where he can actually do a very decent job. I think as a 10, Kobbie Mainoo can produce those sort of outputs. I think it will take him time to get there for sure, but you can see him a lot more happier. You can see him a lot more natural in that sort of position rather than as the 8.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think, so I've recorded a video on Matheus Cunha yesterday for when he signs, and one of the things that's mentioned about him is his best position is we know it's like what he plays for Wolves. It's very similar to Amarin's system, right? But they call it, like, I can't remember the name. It's like the 14 position or something. And it's that where Mainoo operates best, basically. That left-sided 10, just near the edge of the box, in that area, that's where he is the best. So logically, it just makes more sense having a player who plays in the best positions. It clearly wasn't really working in midfield. I mean, even for Ten Hag, as bad as Ten Hag's tactical setup with the midfield was, you could see even in that, like, struggling to really get across the pitch. And this is one of the reasons why I believe we need someone like an Edison from Atalanta, because the distance he'll cover, he's just as capable on the ball, but he'll put fires out like Ugarte as well. And I think Mainoo struggles with that a little bit. So having him more in that technical area, the relationship he has with Garnacho, I think as well is something that could be interesting. But it's just that front three, innit? When you talk about that, whoever it is, it doesn't seem to find the right balance. I don't even know what our best front three is. Genuinely. It's hard to say, innit?
You could put Ahmad there, but again, I like Ahmad more as a wing back. I think he has more of a, I think he's more present in the game as a wing back because he gets more on the ball. I think as a 10, there are times where he doesn't really get on the ball as much. So I wouldn't put Ahmad there, but Bruno definitely helps in that area. I think.
But
in
then
the
you
best
need
case
Bruno
scenario,
in the midfield because of the reasons you said as well, innit?
exactly.
So it's
I think
like,
best case scenario, best front three this season would have to be Xerxes. You'll have to put in there
mm,
as a right-sided 10. You'll Hoyland is not going to be there.
no. You put, I think Garnacho, well, you're not choosing from many, are you, to be fair?
Yeah,
Garnacho has his games where he's really effective. I think he's better on the right, personally.
yeah,
I prefer Garnacho
yeah.
on the right, Xerxes in the 10, let's say, on the left-hand side. I think because his partnership with Dorgu was
Mm,
something interesting. And then it's the 9. It's like we've only got one number 9, so you'd have to put Hoyland in
that's-
there, but it's
yeah,
just null and void, isn't it? It does nothing every game. So, I mean, you watch the difference today from Evan Nilsson to Hoyland. It's night and day, genuinely night and day. I
yeah,
hope he scores. It'd be the perfect time now to start scoring, but we say it
yeah.
every single fucking week. Like, oh, he'll do this, he'll do that. Last thing on Garnacho, do you think this will be his last game at the Seaside against Bournemouth? You
It
see him
could
going
be.
in the summer?
It could be because again, from what are the rumors and what are the things that have been floating around the club for the past few weeks, it has been that Ineos would like to cash out on him.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to players from the academy in this team that they would be willing to actually let go, Meno is right now who's I think plays at a higher ranking in comparison to Alejandro Garnacho. And if you could get 60-65 million for him, I think any United fan right now would actually take you up on that offer because again, if you can get Cunha in instead of Garnacho, this team's attack completely changes altogether. And I think right now we are genuinely in need of that sort of bite and edge in our attack, which Garnacho is not able to. Maybe 3 or 4 years down the line he can, but we cannot wait 3 or 4 years right now with the kind of position that we are in. Next season, it has to be something that actually gets us up from 14 to at least 6th or at least 5th. And I don't think Garnacho is going to be the difference maker who bridges that gap. Going to need someone like a Cunha. You're going to need someone like an Osman. So how are you going to fund those sort of transfers is by letting go of a certain few faces. And Rashford, Garnacho, Anthony, Sancho, 4 of these players, 4 attackers fall into that list. So if you can generate 120, 130 million from 4 outgoings of these players, Cunha comes in, maybe Osimhen, maybe Delap, whoever it is, but you need fresh faces in that attacking line.
You need specialists in that position, don't you? Absolutely. I think even watch Semenyo today, the way he plays, like the way he receives it with his back to goal. A lot of the time, you're not facing your man 1v1 like an out-and-out winger. It'd be like putting Nani in there back in the day as a 10. It just wouldn't really work. And whether we'll develop into that or not, I don't see it personally. I think we're going to sell him in the summer, and I think we're going to bring in Cunha and players like this. And I think you'll see a difference straight away, immediately. But yeah, I think it's kind of highlighted, wasn't it, in the game against Wolves, that like we kind of did almost everything right. I feel like we was the better team, but when it did get into that important stage in the attacking phases, it's just something. It's such an imbalance and off chemistry about that front three. It just doesn't work at all. And something I was listening to, which I was listening to Ryan Giggs the other day in an interview with Rio Ferdinand, and he was talking about the relationships he had with certain strikers. So with Teddy Sheringham, Dwight York, Andy Cole, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when he was going to put a ball into the box, he would know where every one of them strikers would favour. So he would know, for example, Cantona would drop off to the back post. He knew that Ruud van Nistelrooy would drop centrally, so he'd be there for the cutback. Like, he'd know where to put it without even looking. And I think nowadays with Højlund, he confuses his runs sometimes. Sometimes he will run to the front post. Sometimes do you know what I mean? He mixes it up. So then that's why you see so many phases, and I'm not just blaming this on Højlund, but that's why you see so many phases where it's Garnacho he'll play it and they'll both look at each other and they'll be like, ugh. There just doesn't seem to be like a connection there at all with him, does there?
Yeah, it doesn't. And I don't know what it is, but Garnacho and Højlund can just never find each other at the correct spaces every single time. And with Højlund, I think there is definitely a big lack of confidence, but there is hesitation as well when he is in and around the box or when he does have to make that sort of run. And because of it, you end up suffering at the other end and you're not able to convert that chance because there have been so many games. This is the first time where we've actually seen so many crosses into the box, but there's just not anyone inside the box to actually turn those and convert that to a goal. So I think again, Hoyland is definitely also someone who you could cash out on, because Napoli are interested, Juve are interested. So if there are like 2 or 3 clubs interested, and you can get around 25-30 million for him, I think you must take that offer up, because
How would that look on the
personally,
books, though? Do you know what I mean? Because we just bought him for 70 million, haven't we? If you go and sell him now for 30.
there's no way that at least in the next 4 or 5 years, United could get a profit on Hoyland.
No, I'm not saying. I agree like 100%, but I'm saying I don't know how it would. I don't know how PSR works nowadays, is what I'm trying to say, or financial fair play, if that would be like a big red flag because you just bought a player for 70 million, instant £40 million loss. Would that then go on the book? Do you know what I mean? I don't know how it works.
I get that, but again, something is better than nothing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
if an offer came in for him,
further down the line, he leaves on a free, on a cross, or
I don't think he's a bad player. I think, like Garnacho, I think he could go to Italy, because I think Juventus and Napoli are interested, and I think he could actually do really, really well. He's a talented striker, but again, it just doesn't seem to work in this system. And sometimes it happens. Like, look at Inter Milan, for example, right? They have a system where they was playing. They had Lautaro Martinez and Thuram. Sometimes he could go into a system like that, and a split striker system could work for him. He's got a bit more support. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. I mean, because again, in a 2-striker system, the pressure gets it gets split, and in that 2-striker system, you always have that sort of option that one of them always plays as the creator and the other plays as that sort of poacher. And in that Inter Milan team, Thuram does the creation job very well. I think he's an outstanding forward. And Martinez has been very clinical for Inter Milan for the past 3 to 4 years, and that partnership works really well. And even at Atalanta, for when he has started out there, he did work in a 2-striker system. Sometimes it used to be with Lookman, sometimes it used to be with the likes of, I think it was, and forgetting the name of the player, Atalanta. I think it was a Portuguese striker. Yes, Zapata or Muriel, one of those guys.
Muriel, yeah.
So he did play in that sort of system and managed to get like 11-12 goals, like a couple of assists as well. But in that way, your pressure actually gets halved. And I think the solo pressure of being a solo striker is actually much less in a 2-striker system. Yeah. And again, in Italy, the pace of the game is quite slow. The tempo is quite slow. So he'll get much more time to actually navigate his run. He'll get much more time on the ball than he does, in the Premier League. I think it will be a good move for him. The question is all, it is on Ineos if they're actually willing to cut their losses and actually move him on in this summer.
Very interesting summer ahead of us. But we've still got a couple of Premier League games and, of course, the important Europa League game coming up as well. Right, back to the comment section. If you look just above Shreyas' head on the left-hand side, there is a subscriber count. We're on 40. That's your other side. There we go. Yeah, if you look there, with 14,169 subs, we're pushing closer and closer to 15k. So if there is anyone new in the chat, it takes 2 seconds of your time. We'd really appreciate that. I'll get into your comments now after a bit. Charlie's saying Bruno and Cass does work well, and they look like playing together. Steph saying Garnacho needs to watch Kobe on his composed finishing ability. 100%. If we get a proper box-to-box midfielder alongside Ugarte, move Bruno forward with Manu and hopefully Cunha up top. I think Cunha's going to be used more as a 10 rather than a striker. He can play as a striker.
He could play as a striker.
I mean, I'd take Cunha over Hoyland at the minute. Anyway, put it that way. Yeah. If things go off the plan, we'll have 2 new strikers, 2-3 new 10s, a centre mid, and a right wing back, maybe a keeper. It's going to be a busy summer. Evans, Heaton, Ericsson, and Lindelof can be replaced this summer by returning loans and youth prospects. If a few good transfers are made, we have reasons to be cheerful. And that's a good point, Ed, to be fair, because I think the wages that are going to be removed. So Ericsson's on 150k, Lindelof's on 120, Evans and Heaton are around 50 to 75k a week.
Yeah.
You replace them with young talents like, I don't know, in each position. If Ericsson goes, you put in, fucking hell, what's his name? The midfield, the young midfielder who's coming in at the minute. He's really, really good. Morehouse, I think I know. You could replace an Ericsson with a Morehouse, let's say, like an advanced midfielder, for example. When he goes, as centre-back, Fredrickson looked pretty good against Wolves, right? Yeah. So if Lindelof moves on, you can start pushing him. And start doing that, and then that opens up, again, in terms of PSR regulations, a much more of a gap to go and buy players, etc. So it's a really good point, that. Red Devil saying Hoyland is trash, bro. Okay. Charlie saying our stats in the Europa League is better with 157 chances created in the box with 25 goals scored. 5 of those are Hoyland goals. Yeah. that was in more in the group stages. Though it's not really done much in the knockout stages, as if from at least my memory anyway. But let's talk tactics with United today. Like I said, we've spoken about the Wolves game. I thought in that game we limited them to chances, but we just didn't take ours, which has been the story of the season so far. I think from a defensive standpoint, with more experience at the back today with Maguire and Shaw, again, this is something we've already spoken about as well, but just this is what I had on my notes. I think they're going to deal with players like Semenyo and Kluivert much better, hopefully as a collective and individually. And with Bournemouth, what are you expecting from them today? How much have you watched them this season? Like, in your mind, how do they play, or what are their threats?
As always, I think against United, they'll turn up the same way they did previously the season. Front foot, try and aggress us, and force us to make a mistake, or actually be able to exploit those half spaces again the way they did last time, and hopefully get a goal within the first 20 minutes and start us panicking, us trying to move the ball forward a lot more, and then just switching to a plain counter attack the way they've actually dealt with us the last time. One area I think United will again go with a conservative approach. I think they'll try to soak up as much pressure as they possibly can, and if we are able to limit their attacks at least till like the 20th or 25th minute, I think that is when we will be able to play the game a lot better. I think we've got good players in that area who can play that sort of position, as well as play that sort of style where you just want to absorb pressure or just want to make ball recoveries and win duels. You've got Casemiro, you've got Maguire, you've got Shaw, who's exceptionally good on the ball. You've got Mazraoui, so he's again a wing back, but with a more defensive sided approach. So you can see how he'll be trying to play. It is just a question of how clinical we are on the other end, and on top of that, if we are able to keep Semenyo and Kluivert actually quiet, because they are the two players who are big creative as well as two very big physical demons inside the box.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. One thing that worries me about him. It's very much like Newcastle. When you play and they just have that intensity to them, don't they? They force you into mistakes. They pressure really high up. But like we mentioned on the preview as well, I think with Bournemouth at the minute, because of their high intensity style, there will be cracks in the system. They will, like in the press, you can play through them, and with Bruno, someone like him in midfield, and Casemiro with those first-time passes that you get, that will be an element of the game that I think you see from today. I was looking at a couple of articles in, I think it's called the Bournemouth Echo or something. It's like the Manchester Evening News for us, but for them. And they were saying, like, I was looking at a couple of their weaknesses as well, and they were talking about aerial duels. Apparently the teams underperformed in aerial contests with a success rate of 37%, ranking them joint bottom in the league. How true that is, I'm not sure, but that was something they put out there. And also individual errors as well. They've made a league high of 7 errors leading to shots, highlighting issues with concentration and decision-making in defence as well. So just a little note on that. But when you talk about key players for Bournemouth, you know the names I'm going to say. We've already touched on a couple of them already. Evan Nilsson, 4 goals in his last 6 games for Bournemouth. He's someone to keep an eye on today, and someone I think is definitely going to end up scoring. Also, Justin Kluivert as well. Tricky, floats about the attacking area, cause problems. Look, go and watch his performance back at Newcastle. He was just fucking absolutely unbelievable. It's come out of nowhere really, because he's had a couple of spells on it. I think he was at Roma, right? Is that correct? I think.
Yeah, he was at Ajax, then he went to Roma.
Ajax. Didn't he have a spell for a young, like a Premier League team or Championship team as well? I'm pretty sure he did. Let me have a look. I'm sure it's like a Watford or something.
No. He played for Ajax, then Roma, then Leipzig, then Nice, then Valencia, and now at Bournemouth.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why I'm thinking he played for... Yeah, Bournemouth, Valencia, Nice, Leipzig, Roma, Ajax. I don't know. In my head, I feel like he'd been in the Premier League already, went away, and then come back. But clearly I've got that wrong. But yeah, he's no doubt a super talented player and a tricky customer. Kirkes, another one bombing on that left-hand side, who we've been linked with before, who would be really good for us as well, wouldn't he? Shreyas?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Again, he's massively linked with Liverpool right now. And again, whether it's United, whether it's Liverpool, he'll fit into both systems quite well because, again, rapping on the ball, very aggressive, attacking-wise, quite, I would say, competent, and, has a good cross on him as well. So, fits quite well into both those systems and is a very high-intensity, high-tempo player. So, he'll be coming up against Mazraoui and Euro, and I hope, both of them are able to have a good outing today because, again, good practice for actually, when you're coming up against Nico Williams.
Yeah. One thing I was going to say is I don't think that left side, if we brought in Cunha, I don't think that left side would work with Kirkes and Cunha because they had that big bust up, didn't they? So maybe you'd have to
Yeah.
put them on opposite sides. But I certainly rate him. I like Kirkes, Robinson, who you really rate as well. And there are a couple of players in the Premier League who I would look at in that position. Although I don't think they're going to spend that kind of money on wing backs. It's going to be prioritised for the positions. So I wouldn't expect someone like that to come through the door. From the game in general, I suppose I don't know if it's a mutual agreement with this, but there's a couple of things that I want at least. No injuries and don't get battered, right? Is that your motto for today?
Yeah. The bare minimum there. Don't get injuries, lose, but 2-1, 2-0, even 3-0 works.
Yeah. Who would you have personally rested for this game?
Mazraoui and Bruno. Mazraoui I would have rested, and Bruno I would have rested, because again, since that Dallo injury, I've been quite scared about Bruno and Maz, both of them. So I think
coaches are scared to rest Bruno, aren't they? No coach has done it. Since Ole, Ten Hag, Ragnick, whoever it's been, none of them seem to resting him.
I mean, he was rested for the first half in the last game.
But that's a rarity in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. But
You know what I mean?
again, I think coaches are over-reliant on him, because even they know that if this guy is not on the field, where do the goals come from? Our attack is not competent to get goals by themselves.
Yeah.
You're only going to be relying on Bruno, even in the remainder of the season, till, again, fingers crossed, when Ahmad comes back. Bruno is the only outlet.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't wait for Ahmad to come back.
Yeah.
Hurry up, please. In regards to the league position, we go up to 13th with a win today. If we lose, then we stay in 15th, which, take that for whatever it is. It's interesting, isn't it? Because there's a lot of spotlight on United and Tottenham at the minute. Like, who do you think will finish higher, Tottenham and United? And then also you've got that as a final as well. It's almost like who can have the worst season ever, and both of us could make it worse. Like, we could end up finishing near mid-table and winning the Europa League, or we could finish 15th, 16th and win no trophies, and it'd be a complete, utter fucking disaster, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but again, I think when it comes to Spurs, I think the problems are much, much greater, even if I have to compare it to United, because at United, you see our starting 11, you see at our injuries, it makes complete sense as to why things are not working. System-wise, players-wise, definitely. You look at Tottenham and you look at the players that they've fielded in the past few games, you look at the quality that those players actually possess. Some of them could even start for United. And you actually think, why is this team not even able to perform the bare minimum against teams like Ipswich?
A couple of them are starting to Romero's came out, said he was looking for a new challenge, didn't he, and these kind of things.
He's got Van de Ven, he's still got Romero in that back line. Pedro Porro and Jet Spence has been quite immense for them this season.
Yeah. But there's a lot of feeling that Ange is still going to go, even if he wins the Europa League, because there's that kind of feeling that, yes, offensively at times, there's been moments in the game where they look absolutely incredible, like probably the best attack in the league, but they're so open at the back consistently and so easy to play against defensively. It does have a similar element of how it was going with Ten Hag. And obviously, Ten Hag won a trophy as well. He won the FA Cup and then they kept him, and then it was a disaster. So I don't know if Spurs maybe are looking at that and thinking, if we do stick with him, it could still be carnage despite winning our first trophy, first European trophy ever, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting narrative and dynamic going into the next couple of weeks. But I think also something to consider as well, which I made in my notes for this game, with Bournemouth. I mean, it's a
just open the door.
Yeah, go for it. Just speaking to you guys as well, I think it's a long old travel to Bournemouth. It's a long, long wait. I mean, Manchester to Bournemouth, I think, is around 270 miles, to be specific, around a 5-hour drive. I'm not suggesting these lads have gone down on a coach. I don't think they would have. They would have got the train or something. But it's just that the mental part of it, because it's an early-ish kickoff. You've got 2 o'clock. They'll be eating the pasta at around 11 o'clock. You've got to travel all the way down to South Coast and all the way back. And then on Thursday, they're traveling to Spain. And then it's that mental kind of fatigue battle, whatever you want to call it. For players to deal with. So I think that's something that I would definitely consider. But just a couple of stats for you with Shreyas just rejoining us. Yeah. Bournemouth are unbeaten in their last 3 Premier League games against Manchester United. They've won 2 and drew 1, picking up as many points in this game as they did in the first 12 against United. Manchester United have conceded 8 goals in their last 3 Premier League games against Bournemouth, as many as they have in their previous 11. against the Cherries. Bournemouth could become the 6th side to do the double over United this season, the most in a single campaign since 1933. United have failed to score in 13 different Premier League games this season, with only Everton and Leicester doing so more. The last time they'd done this was 1989. And the last one, United have lost 15 Premier League games this season. 15. Yeah. And we've only won 10. Shreyas, that is bad, isn't it?
Not even
That's
half the
really
games
bad.
that we played.
We thought, isn't it weird and bizarre how after the season with Ten Hag, we thought that was, and it was a nightmare at the time.
Yeah.
We thought, oh, it can't get any worse than this. And it's just plummeted completely, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. And again, now that you read into it and you see how things were faring up for us last season, and now then you see the recruitment, and then you see the changes in the team and the manager, and then look at situations, it's not as much of a surprise. You can see the quality problems that we've got. You can see the lack of specialists we have in the team, and you see the lack of options that we've got at the table for us as well. You look at the striker position, Højlund, that's it. You look at, our 10 position as well, Garnacho, that's it. I mean, Meno is playing in that position for like 3 or 4 games just. Bruno has been shifted back into a deep line position to actually accommodate and actually making this system work. So you can see the biggest issues that we've already got in this team, and all we are trying to do is just see the season out and give it our all in the Europa League to salvage anything, or probably just give us any sort of financial competence while we move into next season.
Yeah, I'm going to be absolutely devastated if we don't win that Europa League. I'm genuinely.
Yeah. The toughest game is, I mean, I'll still say the toughest game is upon us of the entire competition. The toughest game is the semis, and if we are able to coast through it somehow, I think that we've got a very deep, I think a majority of the shot belongs to us to actually winning the competition.
Right, let's get the quotes coming in from the manager then, just pre-match, saying we need to be focused in the game and we need to improve our intensity, not just because of this game, but because Bilbao is also going to be very intense. We'll face a Spanish coach in the same system, so we can use everything to win games in the Premier League and prepare us for the next one. We need to be focused. If you look at the last games and you take away Newcastle because of the context between the Lyon games, in Nottingham at Forest we had control, but we lost a match through one set piece. We lost to Wolves because we missed big chances, and again through set pieces. Which is, I mean, that's probably fair, right? Against Forest, we was the better team, weren't we? I feel like we should have won that game in the league. But it's chance. I think we'll have the same narrative again today. I think we'll control the game a little bit more. But the difference is when Bournemouth get a chance with Semenyo, Kluivert and Evan Nilsson, they'll score. When we get a chance with Højlund, he'll take a heavy touch. Or Garnacho will overhit it or underhit it. That's the difference.
Or Onana makes a mistake.
Or Onana makes a mistake, yeah. Please touch.
I would actually prefer him to make a mistake today, because usually when he makes a mistake, the next game he actually has a decent-ish outing.
Yeah, get it out of your system, innit? Get it out of your system ready for Thursday. Amorim also confirms as well that Shaw is going to play at left centre-back. He says he's going to start in the 3. I think it's the best position for him. We have to take a bit of a risk. We have different players, but to have players like him and Mount help the team a lot. Are you surprised, actually, that Shaw's starting the game before Mount? That's interesting, isn't it?
I don't know what to call when it comes to both of those players. I mean, you're basically debating who's more injury-prone.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, the reason why I say it is because Mount's been back for a while before.
Yeah, he's
Shaw,
been out. He has been. He's been getting like 10-15 minutes here and there in a lot of games. But I think when it comes to his attackers, and I think the reason he's gone with Shaw is because at least defensively you're still left with a couple options who can do a makeshift job in that position. I think when it comes to the attack, you've got no options. Højlund, Garnacho, Mount, Zirkzee is out as well. So you're left with Meno. So that's just 4 attackers for 3 slots. So I think he's being very, very cautious when it comes to the attacking side.
Yeah, I agree. Right, before we get into score predictions and things to keep an eye on in this game, we put a poll up at the start of the show. Does anyone think we'll get a positive result this afternoon? And actually, 67% of people have said yes, and 33% of people have said no, which surprises me. So 2/3 of the majority think we're going to win this game. Or saying that, I don't know if they think a positive result might be a draw. Yeah, exactly. So it's
a loss a positive result for them as well?
It depends what so it's context, isn't it? It depends what they think is a positive result, I suppose. We needed to get a positive result today. We need momentum. Get that Ballon d'Or clause in Anthony's sale. Yeah, imagine. Yeah, look, he's doing incredibly well in here with Real Betis. There's no getting away from it. I'm hearing talks already of like a season-long loan, but then with an obligation. So if that is the case, go and do it. If you can get 30, 40 mil, recoup it for him, because he's clearly doing well there and making a huge difference for them. So they'll want to keep hold of it. It's just a win-win in it for both teams, because prior to that move to loans, and this is why loans can be so good, because you're almost putting them in the shop window. We did the same thing with Martial, but with Martial, he went to Sevilla and stunk up the place, so it made it even worse, so no one wanted him. Now it's like, okay, teams will take a chance, and Batiste will know that, which will then force their hand into buying the player, which is great for us, because then we could spend more in the summer. So, yeah, if you want to slam a Ballon d'Or clause in there, be my guest. Right. Shreyas, 4 things, and I want you to think about this, not just straight off the bat. 4 things you see happening in this game: who scores, assists, scoreline, yellow card, anything like that. And the same question for people in the chat as well. And please do smash that like button.
Semenyo to score or assist. Bruno to score or assist. Dorgu to get a yellow. And Evan Nilsson to get 1 goal.
2 of the things that you just said are on mine as well. So I had Evan Nilsson to score. Dorgu, yellow card, I went for as well. Bournemouth 2-0, I've put. In fact, I'm going to change that. I don't think it's going to 2-0. I said 0-0 in the preview. I don't know.
I think they'll leak a goal because they've been quite leaky. I think we at least get 1.
1-1. It's probably fair.
I think 2-1, 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1 or 2-1 Bournemouth, I think I'd probably say. I think Bournemouth are going to get a penalty as well. That's what I'll see happening. So, yeah. I hope at least it's entertaining. Like, sometimes, do you know what I mean? Like, if we lose a game, it's like, I'm obviously frustrated and annoyed, and I want to win every single game possible. But when you lose a game that's a shit game to watch, that just makes it even worse. So if it's entertaining and we lose 3-2 or something, there's something in it. It makes the trip, especially for the players down to the seaside, 270 miles, it makes it worth it. But I don't want no stinking 0-0 where it's very flat and stale and cagey and no team are going for it. Because we basically had that against Wolves where he was controlling the game, and then Sarabia gets a goal and that's it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, watch out for set pieces, watch out for Evan Nilsson, and watch out for penalties. That's something that I would throw out there. But apart from that, look, I think usual lot will be on the post-match review. Me, Sam, and potentially, I don't know if Chivy will be available, actually. It might just be me and Sam, but please do, as many of you as come and join me for the analysis of the game, and we'll break it all down together, as always, on a Sunday. And yeah, enjoy it. Let's see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Barrett with the last comment saying Hoyland's going to come good eventually, and I have a feeling today will be the start of it. I have no idea how many hours he spent this week on scoring, but there must have been many. We'll leave it at that. Oh, switch screens by accident. I don't know where we've gone. There we are. Right, take it easy, everyone. We'll see you after the game. Straight live after minutes, okay?